The restaurant went silent when the billionaire's daughter stood up in shock. Her security guards moved closer. The rich guest stared at the poor single dad sitting beside her. Then he calmly said just 3 words, "She's with me." And suddenly, the entire room froze. It was a quiet evening in a luxury restaurant in downtown New York. Crystal chandeliers glittered above polished marble floors. Wealthy businessmen laughed over expensive wine. Waiters moved carefully between the tables. And sitting alone near the window was a man who clearly didn't belong there. His name was Daniel Carter. Daniel was a single father. His clothes were simple. His hands were rough from years of working construction jobs. Tonight, he wasn't here for luxury. He was here because his 8-year-old daughter Lily had begged him for weeks to see the city lights from this famous restaurant. Daniel had saved money for months just for this one dinner. Lily sat across from him, smiling brightly as she looked out at the skyline. "Daddy, this is the most beautiful place ever," she whispered. Daniel smiled softly. "For you, princess, only the best." But not everyone in the restaurant appreciated their presence. At the center table sat Victoria Langford, the daughter of one of the richest billionaires in the country. Young, elegant, powerful, and surrounded by investors and security guards. When Victoria noticed Daniel and Lily, her eyes narrowed slightly. The whispers started immediately. "Who let them in here? Doesn't look like they belong." A waiter approached Daniel nervously. "Sir, some guests are uncomfortable. Maybe another restaurant would be better." Lily looked down, embarrassed. Daniel gently placed his hand over hers. "It's okay." Then suddenly, Victoria stood up. The entire room turned toward her. She walked slowly toward Daniel's table. The billionaire heiress stopped right beside them, staring silently at the little girl. The restaurant held its breath. And then Victoria asked quietly, "Do you know who I am?" Daniel looked up calmly. "Yes." The room grew tense. Then Daniel spoke 3 simple words. "She's with me." And Victoria froze. The silence lasted several seconds. Victoria stared at Daniel as if she had just seen a ghost. Her investors looked confused. "Victoria, do you know him?" one asked. She didn't answer. Instead, her eyes slowly filled with tears. Daniel remained calm. Lily looked between them nervously. "Daddy, what's happening?" Daniel knelt beside her. "It's okay, sweetheart." Victoria finally whispered something no one expected. "Daniel, after all these years, you're alive." Gasps filled the restaurant. The billionaire heiress suddenly pulled out a chair and sat down across from him. "Everyone," she said firmly, "leave us." Even her security guards hesitated. "Now." Within seconds, the entire room cleared. Only Daniel, Lily, and Victoria remained. Victoria looked at the little girl again. "What's her name?" "Lily," Daniel said. Victoria smiled softly. "She has her mother's eyes." Lily blinked in confusion. "My mommy." Daniel looked at Victoria. Years of unspoken history filled the air. Long ago, before the billions, before the power, Victoria Langford had been just a university student. And Daniel had been the man who once saved her life during a terrible accident. They had loved each other once, but her powerful family had forced them apart. Daniel disappeared from her life, believing she had chosen wealth over love. Victoria never knew the truth. And now, sitting in front of her, was the man she had spent 10 years searching for. Victoria looked at Daniel with shaking hands. "You never told me. We had a daughter." The restaurant lights reflected in Lily's wide eyes. Daniel finally spoke quietly. "I didn't want your world to destroy hers." Victoria wiped a tear from her cheek. Then she reached across the table, gently taking Lily's hand. "My little girl, I've been looking for you both for 10 years. Outside the restaurant, black luxury cars suddenly pulled up. Because the moment Victoria Langford made a decision, the entire world would change for this small family. And Daniel had no idea what she was about to do next." The restaurant was silent. Little Lily still held Victoria's hand, confused but calm. Victoria couldn't stop looking at her. 10 years. 10 years of searching, wondering what happened to the man she once loved, and the life she might have had. And now the truth was sitting right in front of her. Daniel finally broke the silence. "Victoria, this changes nothing." Victoria looked up sharply. "Nothing?" she asked softly. "You just discovered you have a daughter." Daniel nodded slowly. "I know how your family works. Your father controls everything. Power, money, people." Lily looked between them. "Daddy, who is she?" Victoria's voice trembled slightly. "I'm someone who should have been in your life a long time ago." Before Daniel could respond, suddenly the restaurant doors burst open. Heavy footsteps echoed across the marble floor. 5 security guards walked in. Behind them, a tall, elderly man in a dark suit. The moment Victoria saw him, her face went pale. Her father, Richard Langford, one of the most powerful billionaires in America. The entire city feared him, and he was staring directly at Daniel. His cold voice filled the room. "So, you're the man who ruined my daughter's future." Daniel slowly stood up. Lily grabbed his hand tightly. Victoria stepped forward immediately. "Father, stop." Richard ignored her. His sharp eyes moved to Lily. "And this child?" Victoria spoke firmly. "My daughter." The billionaire froze. For the first time in years, Richard Langford looked shocked. He studied Lily carefully. The same eyes, the same smile Victoria had when she was little. The room fell silent. Then Richard slowly walked closer. Lily hid slightly behind Daniel. Richard stopped just a few steps away. For a moment, he said nothing. Then something unexpected happened. The powerful billionaire knelt down. Everyone froze. His voice was quieter now. "What's your name, young lady?" Lily answered shyly. "Lily Carter." Richard looked up at Daniel, then back at Lily. For years he had built empires, controlled governments, crushed competitors without mercy. But this small girl had just done something no one else ever could. She had made him hesitate. Richard stood up again and turned to Victoria. "You kept this from me?" Victoria answered calmly. "I didn't know until today." The billionaire looked back at Daniel. "I spent 10 years making sure you could never come near my family again." Daniel didn't move. "I never planned to." Then Lily tugged Daniel's sleeve. "Daddy, why is everyone angry?" The question hit the room like lightning. Victoria suddenly stood between Daniel and her father. Her voice became stronger than anyone had ever heard before. "No more secrets. No more control." Richard narrowed his eyes. "You think you can defy me?" Victoria placed her hand on Lily's shoulder. "For her, I will." Silence. The billionaire looked at the small girl again. Then something unbelievable happened. Richard Langford slowly smiled. Not a cruel smile. Proud one. "Well," he said quietly, "it seems I finally have a granddaughter." Daniel frowned. Victoria was shocked. But Richard wasn't finished. He looked at Daniel with a calculating expression. "You protected them for 10 years. Daniel said nothing. Richard adjusted his suit. "Good." Then he said something that changed everything. "Because starting tomorrow, the world will know exactly who Lily Carter really is." Victoria's eyes widened. Daniel's heart pounded. Because if the world discovered the truth, the small, quiet life he built for his daughter, would disappear forever. And outside the restaurant, dozens of black cars were already arriving, because the Langford family had just found its lost heir, and the media was about to explode. The next morning, everything changed. Daniel woke up early in his small apartment, just like every other day. The sunlight crept through the thin curtains. Lily was still asleep on the couch, hugging her favorite stuffed rabbit. For a moment, life felt normal, until Daniel's phone started vibrating. Once, twice, then again. Within seconds it wouldn't stop. Calls, messages, notifications. Daniel frowned and picked up the phone, and his heart nearly stopped. Every news channel, every social media page, every headline was showing the same story. Billionaire Richard Langford has a secret granddaughter. The missing daughter of Victoria Langford found. Who is the mysterious man raising the billionaire heir? Daniel's hands trembled. Outside the apartment building, loud noises echoed. Cameras, voices, reporters. Daniel slowly walked to the window. His stomach dropped. Dozens of news vans were parked outside. Journalists crowded the entrance of the building. Microphones, cameras, flashing lights. The entire world had discovered Lily. Behind him, Lily's small voice suddenly spoke. "Daddy, why are there so many people outside?" Daniel quickly closed the curtain. "It's nothing, sweetheart." But before he could think of what to do next, a black luxury car pulled up outside. The reporters exploded with excitement. Security guards stepped out first. Then the back door opened. Victoria stepped out of the car. Cameras flashed wildly. "Miss Langford, is the child really yours? Who is the father? Is the billionaire family claiming the girl?" Victoria ignored every question and walked straight toward the building. Minutes later, there was a knock at Daniel's door. Daniel opened it slowly. Victoria stood there, breathing slightly fast. She looked different today. Not like a billionaire, not like a powerful heiress, just like a mother who had waited 10 years. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. Daniel shook his head. "This is exactly what I was afraid of." Victoria looked at Lily, who was peeking from behind the couch. Her voice softened instantly. Lily." Lily waved shyly. Victoria stepped inside carefully. Then she turned back to Daniel. "My father has already announced everything to the world." Daniel sighed. "Of course he did." Victoria looked serious now. "Daniel, things are about to get bigger." "How much bigger?" Daniel asked. Before she could answer, another loud knock hit the door. But this time, it wasn't gentle. Daniel opened it. 3 men in expensive suits stood outside. Behind them were more security guards. One of the men spoke firmly. "Mr. Carter, we represent the Langford Corporation." Daniel frowned. "What do you want?" The man held out a thick folder. "Mr. Richard Langford has arranged a legal meeting." Victoria's expression hardened. Daniel looked at the folder. "What kind of meeting?" The man answered calmly. "A custody hearing." The room went silent. Lily looked up at Daniel. "What does that mean, Daddy?" Daniel slowly clenched his fists. Because the richest family in the country had just started a legal battle, and they had unlimited power. Victoria stepped forward immediately. "My father is not taking her." But Daniel wasn't so sure anymore. Outside the building, the media storm was only getting bigger, because the world wasn't just watching a billionaire family story anymore. They were about to witness the most powerful custody fight in the country. And Daniel, a simple single father, was standing against a billionaire empire.